church used their. Oh, he's got a lot of things. It's a different route. Because I've seen my part.
Oh, we need to start on. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Syracuse City Planning Commission tonight. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is like 6 o'clock. Tonight we have communication thought on myself and then the Planning Commission part. Our comment for this time for the Syracuse Planning Commission. We're thankful for the favorable circumstances we have to meet. The freedoms of our country have to gather to come up with meetings, be able to gather together and make decisions. Pray that inspires to make the best decisions for the city and the citizens of Syracuse. We're grateful for the city and for those who live here, who live and work in Syracuse. We're thankful for all the blessings we have in states in this crisis.
Would the audience please rise and repeat after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is to adopt our meeting agenda. It's been posted in accordance with state law. Motion to adopt. I'll make a motion for a second. Second. A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item on our agenda is to review and adopt the meeting minutes from August the 6th. They were included part of our packet. Was there any comments or updates? We don't make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Chair, I didn't find any corrections or anything, so I'll make a motion that we adopt the regular meeting and work session meeting minutes for August 6th, 2020.
Thank you, Commissioner Robert. Second. Commissioner, Vice Chair.
Syracuse.
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Most. The motion passes. The next on our agenda is a public comment period. This is an opportunity for the public to comment to the Planning Commission on items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you have a comment, if you'd like to state your name and address and make your comment, frankly, keep it to 3 minutes. Again, if you are here to comment on the public hearings or something, then we'll have a public comment time for that as part of that hearing. So if you have a comment other than something that next item on the agenda is a public hearing for zoning amendment. No, I haven't you got this one since you're all by yourself over there.
Start with me. All right, so we have for us a request to amend the zoning map. We have sent out postcards and put a sign on the property in preparation for the meeting. The location you can see in this map, it's near the golf course on, I've got an approximate address in here, 3800 West Hammond Lane. The current zoning is R1 and A1, and the proposed zone is to go to a R3. The applicant is in the audience. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask any questions or myself?
So the zoning around it is R3?
No, if you look at this, to see the context of it, majority of the zoning around it is R2. They're requesting R3. R3 would be consistent with the general plan. It's considered, R3 is still considered to be a low density residential option. But that's the question of the hour. Does R3 fit within this context? Even though it is consistent with the general plan, you know, so is an R2 or R1. I've provided the table in the packet if you want to look at it, you can see the differences between the different zones. The main difference between a R3 and a R2 is this lot width. R3 would allow 80-foot lot width, R2 would be 85 foot. Where it's at currently, you can see the A1 minimum lot size is a half acre, 100 feet. R1 is 12,000 square foot lot, 100 feet. So those are the differences there. Since the general plan's already where they need it, they didn't need to amend that. This amendment would kind of pave the way for potential subdivision into some further lots, which we don't have a set design yet. You know, I've seen a few concept plans, but there's a variety of ways you can chop it up to make some lots.
Any other questions? Comment then? Public comment. Harrison, any other, just say your name and address, and you can talk about your minutes. However, since you are the landowner, we might invite you after to questions.
So, yeah, my name's Danny, and I live at 3736 West, and my name's Syracuse. I appreciate you guys taking the time to go over this tonight. I'll just give you a quick backstory. So basically, I had this dream of like homesteading all my kids and having lots there and bringing them all there. And on Friday, I drove my youngest daughter and dropped her off in Kansas. In March of next year, I wanted to have kids in the state of Utah. I got two boys for dreams, and they're off to the corners of the world. My daughter's in Kansas, and so times change, and we found a place up in Tremont that we wanted to make a purchase on. We're a few years out from retirement, so the idea kind of was, hey, we could sell this land and part of the ground that's there, and I'm still living in the house that I live in now for a few years until I get that retirement time. And then at that time, then move up there and kind of restart up there. So in doing this rezone, something important to point out is one, I'm going to be living right next to it, at least in 2.5 to 3 years. That's one thing. I'm not trying to rezone and just take and run. In the best case scenario, I get up there in about 2.5 years, a year, somewhere in there. Two is as I started, it kind of became this push on time and trying to get these deadlines to meet this real estate obligation of that. And that's kind of, might get it, I might not. But what happened in that process is as I started working, my wife created construction site, known, well trusted company. They're working through this, and what I learned was that as they look at this particular piece of property, and essentially the concept trying to kind of illustrate the point, it develops this big lot on the back, basically behind my house. So you get this big 0.66 acre lot, and no matter what, the R2, R3, whatever, that's how big that lot's gonna be. There's no way to chop that up, make it smaller. So you have a total rezone of what, a little over 4 acres of developable ground. But 0.66 of it, or 6.8, is going to be one lot. So on the construction side of things, what I learned was for home builders, that's like a hidden gem. That's this opportunity for them to come in, put in $1 million home, have this big lot, have this opportunity. And so then the rest of the property becomes like the tale of two subdivisions. So if you go to the subdivision to the west of me, you have homes that are in the $500,000 to $650,000 range, more along the lines of the Syracuse City kind of starter first one. When you go to the homes to the east of me, they end up being the more $800,000 to $1 million homes and on the higher end of the spectrum. And so this particular little subdivision can kind of go one of two ways. So as I talk to the actual home builders, And they looked at it, they says, look, there's no way you're gonna get more than the 12 lots, which would be the maximum lots under R2. But what would be helpful, just because as you can see that concept, there's a road that kind of go through the center of this. What would be helpful is those setbacks. And what those setbacks do, particularly to the 3 lots on the front, those are your 3 of your like prime lots. They're overlooking the golf course, the best view. Those, but because of the setbacks on the double yard or the double road, you have to do different landscaping. And what happens is the footprint of a house that can be on that property becomes much smaller. So they said the reality of that is that ends up being a smaller footprint home. It ends up being less square footage, less likely to have a 3-car garage and things like that. Whereas if you go to the R3 zoning with setbacks, what happens is you really can't squish another lot in there because it's a big one on the back. But what does happen is, particularly on those 3 lots that are on Hammond Lane in that concept drawing, those lots, because of the setbacks in there, allow for a larger footprint of a home. And so it's a unique piece of property in that the R3 zoning isn't a bump up in overall density. The R3 zoning actually results in the ability for a larger, higher scale home to be in. And so as we looked at different developers and different people, home builders, the home builders that are gravitating to it, that want to move forward with the development in there are the higher end type homes that are in there. So for me, it honestly doesn't matter whether it goes R2 or R1. For them, it has a whole different meaning and feel because it has to do with the product that they can put in there. In my opinion, having been on the planning commission, having served on the city council and understanding the finances and how the cities work, a house that has a higher property tax value is better for the city. If you're putting one in that's gonna be 500,000, it's gonna be 900,000. At the end of the day, you still have that one home. This one's going to make more property tax over the course of it, and you get one shot to do it. And so, as I talked through it, the R3 is to kind of wrap it up. It's not to upscale, upzone it, and to put more homes in it than would be allowed in R2, but it does, particularly with that big lot in the back and the 3 lots on the front there on the Hammond Lane, does allow for a better, larger footprint of the house. You have any questions for me? All right, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks.
It's Brock Johnson, 1157 Galane Circle. It's just around the corner, a couple blocks away from this property. The only reason I wasn't planning on standing up today, but I do want to just add as a public comment, the validity of what Danny was explaining up here. I am a home builder. I've built around 20 or so homes in our community in this neighborhood, including my own. And there's the type of homes that we build are at move up homes. So a lot of the homes along St. Andrews Drive in the last phase of Highlands is where we built a bulk of the homes that we've done. And most of those homes are in that 800 to a little over $1 million category. And so as Danny perfectly described it, I just want to add my public comment that that's with the property. I do not have it under contract, and I don't have a contract together. So I'm hoping that I would have an opportunity to build homes in here and make something work. But just as kind of an unbiased custom home builder, the setback requirements will allow for a bigger footprint. And because of the layout of the property and how it shifts behind Danny's current home, you can't really get a road in there and make it any higher density and add density to what's there. So that R2 zoning already allows for 12 lots. 11 lots, 12 lots is the most you're gonna get in there, regardless of whether it's an 80-foot width or an 85-foot width of a lot. And so, but the setbacks that it allow for a larger footprint, and that's really what people want in their custom home. Believe me, if they can have the big yard and the 0.66 acre lot in the back, great. have become very, very difficult to afford, quite frankly, and so if you can put a little bit larger home, even if it's on a somewhat smaller yard area, that's still very highly desirable for a member in home. And there's a lot of people in this community that I can attest would love to move out of their 15, 20-year-old home and move into a home and not leave their neighborhood. So, thanks.
Thank you. Right, other than 4692 Hammond Lane, which is on the corner of Rattler and. So this would directly touch a corner of my backyard. So my question is, to the council, or if we've discussed drainage on the property. In and around the golf course, there are several homes that are pumping water to sub pumps out. There's a subdivision that is farther west that I know was, I'm not sure if we can see it, but was zoned, I believe, R3. When the homes went in, they put up high foundations. And the homes now sit with the foundation that's like a first story and then 2 stories on top of that. So my concern, and again, I'm fine, Danny's been a great neighbor, I get what we're trying to do, but my concern is how we address the water issues. So there's a home that is directly north of me, two spots and across the street that currently pump water out on a consistent basis. So if these homes are going to have basements, how do we address that? If we're putting in luxury homes, are we building up? Now, if we're going smaller lots, which is what's going to happen, and what does that do to the surrounding area? Most of those homes that surround are single level. So to me, it would be out of place. There is a question about land drains. When I built in Hammond Acres, there are properties that don't have basements because there were not land drains put in. So I know we're talking about development of those things, but I would love to see what's being addressed as far as water is concerned. That a bunch of basements go in and then my house floods. That's just, I would love to see the plan around that. That's my main concern. Thank you. There are people online, I don't see anybody raising their hand or, see any comments in the chat or anything. I guess you can invite them to raise their hand or unmute themselves.
Before I close public hearing, there's anyone online that wants to make a comment, please, unmute, make a comment. No, okay.
My name is Mike McBride, the 1453 Brookshire Drive. And as many of you probably know, I developed all of that area and the golf course. And so I'd just like to clarify where the land drains are in that area. Doral Drive going north and south has a land drain in it. And the homes that are on the east side of that development, Beatty's, Goddard's drain into that land drain. But Danny's house doesn't have a land drain in front of it because the land drain comes up and lane stops and turns south at the home just on the west side of the golf course and runs down to the golf course to the 4,000 drain. So there's not a land drain in between that point and the other right. Now, depending on how they develop this property, if they run the roadway down behind Danny's house and then down into Hammond Lane, they can hook into that land drain by doing that. And most of that land drains naturally to the west and south. So if that's the way you design it, then it can be drained, that land drains can be put in this area and draining back to the west and down to the south and tying into that land drain that goes right at the edge. You can see where the golf course is, right below the R3, where that angled lot is. That's where the land drain turns out of Hammond Lane and starts, and just follows the west side of that fairway. And then the south side of the fairway is all the way down in the 4,000. So it can be drain, if that's how they design.
Thank you.
Now, I think we're going to go over here. Go back to the commission, I'm gonna ask you, Noah, can you address the water issues talked about, that we just deal with that with land drain, is that the best way to deal with that, like what Mr. Bright talked about?
Yeah, at this point in the process, we don't have any details at all. In general, the first step in the process is to rezone it, and we would be looking at a subdivision when we get some details. If they're building roads, we'll have plan profile, very detailed grading plans, and storm drain, land drain plans associated with the road will be dedicated to the public. But then as far as each individual lots, grading and drainage, we have just general statements that are required. For example, when you get a building permit, they'll check for the positive drainage away from the foundation. And then there's a general statement in our ordinance that says that lots will not direct water on neighboring properties. So sometimes they put in like a trench drain, or sometimes they build a little berm, or so the individual grading of each lot is not something that the city really looks at too closely. But our city engineer will review if there are public roads or anything like that. I know he reviews all that pretty closely, and they'll usually have like a very rough grading plan, road plan, demolition plan, that sort of thing with the subdivision process. But we also require geotechnical studies and things like that. So often if the geotech determines that there's high ground water, we'll spec out what's needed for foundations and things like that. But at this point, the general process, we're at the very start line. We don't have any details about grading or land grants at this point.
Thank you. The commission for discussion or vote?
So I'm gonna kind of reiterate the concerns that have been brought up about the water. I actually live a little bit further west of that, so this doesn't directly impact me, but it does directly impact the neighbors, so I can understand the concern with regards to the water situation. Before I do that, I actually really like the plan put together. I was looking at what he said on the website earlier this last week, and I really like it. I like the idea of the subdivision right there. It didn't really do a lot to beautify that area. I am concerned, however, about the water being a potential issue, and I know that this isn't necessarily point of the process that would worry about that, but I would want to make sure that that would be noted for us going forward when we do address the next few stages, because if somebody puts something in there and something is overlooked, I've heard everything from there being some wells on the property that need to be addressed, and would have to be plugged before they officially put anything else in there and that kind of thing. So those bullet points, I think, would have to be addressed before we would move on to the next step. But as far as this is concerned, I like it, and I wouldn't have a problem with it as it is right now, just with zoning. But like I said, I would want something as we go forward to make sure we address that in the future.
Mr. Chair, can I add one thing as well? Please do. So in our ordinance, there's approval guidelines for zoning amendments. And one of the things that the zoning ordinance recommends is to look at the adequacy of utilities. And while we don't have detailed subdivision plans at this point, it is good to look at potential issues like that. And the city can require studies or anything to help make sure that there's adequate utilities to serve the property. And, you know, that would be something that would be appropriate if you did want to ask the applicant to provide.
So that's something we would add to our motion.
Sorry, that'd be a condition for the motion then.
Sure, I mean, it's a recommendation to city council, but you could recommend that city council makes that a condition of approval. Or if they want to see it before they make a decision, that's up to them.
Can we ask questions at this time? I know I already had my 3 minutes.
Yeah, we're not, we're outside of our open commission, we want to allow questions.
I don't know.
Let me keep your question, but we'll allow a question.
Yeah, so I mean, my main question is around that land drain. The thing that I question is, can we see that beforehand? I certainly appreciate Mikey's always been upfront on things, so. I mean, for me, I love the idea as well, but just curious does it have to be approved now and then we find out about the land drain? That's my thing.
I think I can address that, and all you want to make sure I get it right. I think basically we go into the subdivision plan, then that will be on the subdivision plan. We can make it a condition tonight on our motion. It does go to city council. City council has the final say on the rezone. And if they agree with us and say, yeah, we want to make that a condition, then that would be something that would come up as part of the subdivision plan. And then that would be something that the staff and engineer and planning commission would all pay attention to when we go to the condition. Anything I got wrong on what I get right?
No, you could do it that way. We wouldn't expect we wouldn't expect a developer or landowner to go through final design of a subdivision before granting approval, but what we could require is a feasibility study to ensure that adequate drainage can be supplied and prove that to the city before approving a rezone.
Okay.
And is that part of like the geotech study?
Yeah, or it could just be an independent, study or of the existing utilities around.
Did anyone want the microphone?
So just one simple point. Okay, so that's where that land drain that that I talked about. That was my first house, 3802. I was hooked into that basement. Had no problem with water or anything. When I went across the street, the house that I desired that I wanted to build was one with alleyways. And so that's what I built. And so you're able to build homes in there without a land drain in that portion of the city as long as you're above grade. And so it's almost like this whole issue of water, like you're really putting the cart before the horse. You don't even know what type of homes are around you put in. They can come in there not hooked to any land drain, build everything above curb, and it would be completely compliant with and the water issue would be a non-issue because they're above curb level. And so while I respect and value the idea of the water, I've grown up there, I know what the water's like there, I know what all the neighbors go through and have been through. It's almost like you're forecasting way ahead that, hey, all these people are gonna come in here and they're gonna put in basements, and we gotta do all this stuff to protect them because there's gonna be this water issue. Well, at the end of the day, we don't even know what home's gonna go. So to jump to this point and try to put all these other additional regulations stipulated on is forecasting that this is going to be the plan. Well, that might be the plan, or this other might be the plan. And we don't know what that is until throw out an arbitrary decision onto an attachment to the property. Is that something you do to all other properties that come in as a rezone at this level? Do you say at this level of rezone, you've got to work out this water issue before you get anything else? We're attaching that to you because you might put a house in there that has a basement. That's arbitrary, that's capricious, that's not consistent with my understanding of how the planning commission works in the past where decisions have been made. And it's also forecasting a decision that hasn't even happened. We don't know what those houses are going to be. But at the end of the day, if there's an issue with the water, that ultimately falls on the developer and the homeowner and the choices that they make. They can develop every one of those lots without going under curb level at all. And so I think the jump this discussion on water is placing additional restrictions on it that are not necessarily placed on other rezones in the city and are not consistent with basic practices throughout the city. And so that would be my question, my position is that, hey, we're jumping way down the road, attaching things to this that don't need to be attached to it to say, you're going to get a subdivision plot plan before you. And that, when the subdivision plot plan comes in, that's when you say, there's a land drain here. We're putting a restriction on all of the property here that they either going to be connected to that line or they're going to be above curb level. That's when that discussion should take place. That's when you have the ability to put those conditions on it. To put those conditions on it now is, in my opinion, not fair. And it's putting the cart way before the horse.
Thank you.
I guess that's my question for the city attorney. I mean, before making your recommendation to the city council, there's no such thing as like, essentially, either a recommendation You are a recommending body. You can make zone changes conditional by adding conditions to your recommendations. Did that answer your question or is there more?
Yeah, that's a point.
But to that point, the city council, but to that point, city council could be like, thanks for the recommendation of the requirement, but we're just gonna go forward with the butter.
They may well do that. City council never disagree with them on anything. Almost never happens.
Mr. Chair, I pulled up the ordinance that we,
Okay.
you know, these are the approval standards for all rezones, not just his property. Number 4, it says the adequacy of facilities and services intended to serve the subject property, including but not limited to roadways, parks, police, fire, schools, stormwater, boxes in the way, drainage systems, water supplies and wastewater and refuse collection. So like I said earlier, it is fair to ask for feasibility study in relation to deciding whether or not you should rezone the property. Thank you.
Is that something also that, as a city engineer, is within the subdivision plans you could request, or is that the,
It is something that will, you know, we'll get into the meat of it, the detail of the subdivision, but on a high level, you know, if the city was concerned about it, we could definitely ask them to put our fears at ease and tell us, you know, how are we gonna solve this problem on a high level?
okay, any other questions from the commission or discussion or take a motion?
Thank you.
Please.
Chair, I'll make a motion to recommend to the city council approval for the Prescott End Hammond for a rezone of approximately 3802 West Hammond Lane from R1 to A1 and A1 to R3, with the property that comprises approximately 4.52 acres with the added caveat that we address with a feasibility study, whatever is necessary to address at this high level, make sure that we're within code and our ordinances according to our city code.
Thank you. Motion and second.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. I vote aye. You vote aye. Okay. You vote nay. Okay, Mr. Attorney, we have a 3-2 vote based on the bylaws that the city council approved. That is a majority of the people here, but not a majority of the commission.
That's correct. We have at least 4 votes to approve the motion.
So the motion fails.
I believe the Dennis is online.
Was Dennis online?
Dennis vote, or did you figure out something?
If you can vote, Dennis, we need your vote here.
The condition is what it makes me not vote. I mean, I'm okay with it being rezoned. You guys know how I feel about rezoning. Especially if it goes against the plan that we have. But just at this time, it doesn't seem like we're at the right time to have them at least give us input yet at this point on drainage.
And I would agree with that, except, and as a matter of fact, the argument that Danny made, about that kind of had me on the fence and leaning the other direction. As soon as Noah showed that in the, city ordinance code, that's something that needs to be addressed. In that
And
scenario.
I'm on the same page because I wanted to just be at a very high level, not saying doing this, but whoever develops this in the future, just keep that in mind that we are saying there may be this issue. We may want a geotech study, we may want to have this water, but that's going to be drilled down when they come.
Yeah.
But it's just more of an awareness to say, this is an issue that we do want you to be aware of.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When I vote aye, I think city council. Voted with that.
So I think that man, I was, I will vote aye.
That would be my feeling as well. I'd prefer to see this addressed at the subdivision phase rather than at the at this phase, but the vote is what it is. Dennis, you can vote. Would you vote yea or nay on this item?
Are you there?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I think I can. I've just been muted. I thought I was terrible, but I've had trouble getting in for some reason.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, I was okay with the rezoning. I thought originally, though, that was proposed to be basically horse property. So I thought that's what they were going to leave it at. But I'm okay if they change it to the zoning in that current neighborhood.
Okay, so the motion was to change it to R3 with the requirement and a feasibility study on the water. Would you vote yea or nay on that?
I would vote yay on that.
Okay, if he votes yea, the motion passes 4-2. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Then go to city council, and that'll be on their agenda at some point. If it's a work week this time or next week, or if it's a business meeting.
I think it's gonna be next Tuesday, it's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is to adjourn to work session. So take a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to work session. First is part of business. Councilman Watson, do you have anything for us? There's your computer with you. You must have a lot to talk about.
I don't know that I have any huge updates in our last business meeting, which just happened, was our truth and taxation hearing. So you probably all heard what happened there. And then we also made some good steps towards, we did approve the creation of RDA. So in order to help with some infrastructure issues surrounding the property where the proposed Costco is going. So we've got, I think the mayor and Noah spent a lot of time getting all the taxing entities on board with an RDA. So it's a reinvestment district. So it helps with infrastructure. Taxing entities agreed to defer the tax they would make off of it, so we can put it back into infrastructure to help develop land that's, in this case, kind of been landlocked for a while, because it's been part of the county and we just annexed it in recently. So that's a huge step in that process. So that happens. So,
Oh, you probably need CRA, community reinvestment.
oh,
Area,
yes,
that
the
would be
RDA.
RDA.
Yeah, yeah, I was close. The CRA. So yeah, that's a good thing we have an attorney. But yeah, we did approve the creation of that. So. Okay. Any other questions?
One thing, and this might be my, not on the very website, which I thought I did pretty well. I could not find, I was looking for the information that was shared in public hearings, I told was shared. About where the expenses were going. Was that not posted online anywhere? I couldn't find it in the city council packet. I couldn't find it anywhere.
It should be part of the packet. It was part of the packet, and then the proposed the budget has been posted there online as well. I don't know the exact location, but I know it's posted on our website.
There was a one-page double-sided handout that was made available to people who attended the meeting, with lots of little pictures and graphs and stuff. That was very helpful. I'm not sure if we have any of those sitting around, but I know we did have extra copies that night, so.
Maybe that's the one. So I had people who talked about, yeah, they had this much, they're hiring assistants, and you had this much, all this.
But that was in the packet, and even those the specific positions which were resulting in the need for a tax increase, those were listed right there in the packet.
I'll have to go look and see.
Or if you have questions.
Well, look, I found the agenda, and I found all the other packets, but didn't want. Here.
Okay.
Yeah. And anything else for?
Okay,
Thanks so much. Thanks,
guys did a good job.
Thanks for attending tonight. That's it. Yeah, ask the city attorney walked out, so I'm assuming that means it's
He was looking for that handout for you.
okay.
Handout.
That's all right. Did you have anything else for us tonight?
No, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, anything on the upcoming agenda that we talked about?
Yes, the September 3rd meeting on our annual schedule, we plan on canceling that. That's still the case. I guess now's the time we need to talk about it.
We had, didn't we say that we were gonna wait till we got a little closer to make that final decision? I guess that is it.
That was, yes, it's one after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Do we have anything pressing on you that we just need to, I don't know, I'm not going anywhere, so I have no problem doing it, but if there's nothing pressing, we've already said we're gonna cancel it.
We really don't have anything that's pressing.
There's a chance I could get it now. I don't from cancer.
Okay, well, if it's already planned to be canceled anyway, we'll go ahead and just remain that way, so our next meeting will be September 17th.
Anything, as far as, the 17th goes, if it's ready, we'll put it on. We have, I don't know if you remember the town hall project on Antelope by Banbury.
I guess in a while.
Yeah, they've had the zoning, so zoning doesn't expire, but they did have a preliminary plat that expired. So now they need to come in and there have been some changes to the ordinance since they got approval. We changed the driveway fee.
So we hold them to the current.
Yeah, so they had to
Okay,
make sure all the driveways were 20 feet deep, so we had to massage some things. I think it will make it better, to be honest. And so they're trying to get that resolved and back up and running again. It doesn't have to go through city council again because they've already been granted the zoning. And then there is this will be on next Tuesday's agenda. There's been talk of a self-initiated general plan amendment on the 6-way roundabout area that we've recently seen and had some discussion about. And city council is going to talk about that next Tuesday. If they decide they want to expand the commercial general plan area to encompass more land, then that will be forwarded to you guys for a recommendation on the 17th.
I thought city council.
Well, they turned down their application, but the city can self-initiate it's our general plan, so we can end up with one. So they're looking at the potential of just making that known to all the property owners that that's what the city intends. Because I know that those developers are still kind of circling around as far as trying to decide what they want to do with the property. So you might not even see it. We'll see what city council says about it.
And the SAA, what was that?
It's one where it's quote wording.
27, 2000. And bluff.
So, SAA has purchased land by the shops that we're talking about. They submitted an application for a rezone to PRD. We don't have a schedule yet. They're working through their wetland delineation and their final plans and stuff. So that there's a chance that could make it to the 17th, but kind of doubts.
We're looking at a PRD for the school then. Interesting.
The school can go in any zone.
Right.
But they bought more land than what they need for just the school, and so they want to sell the surplus off to Woodside, which is developed to the south, to kind of be more of the same. But just single family detached, small lot stuff.
Thank you. Anything else?
Sorry, no.
No, okay, thanks. Okay, language and training.
I don't have anything, but if you guys have some recommendations for things you want to learn about, And I'll also say that coming up, there's a Utah chapter of the American Planning Association. They're holding a conference in Provo coming up. Anybody wants to drive me out for the day if you want.
When is the League of City Council meeting, October, or that's September?
Do you know when that is? I'm not sure. I know that that's coming up.
They, again, that's been a while since, they used to have a day they set aside the planning day,
Mhm.
and they would have certain topics that day.
And that's, what is that, Sheridan every year?
Yes, that's always a shared regional television downtown Salt Lake.
Yeah, it's at the same hotel every year, downtown Salt Lake, so if you want to go to that.
Because that's, in the past, that's been a good meeting.
When's the?
Soon.
I know we've been getting a lot of emails about different, meeting and things that we can attend.
Yeah, the Washington Regional Council is pretty active in trying to invite elected appointed officials and stuff.
I think. Not good.
The League of Cities and Towns Convention is September 4th and 5th.
The APA Fall Conference is October 10th through 11th. Utah Valley Convention Center.
Does we can't talk. The monthly student towns that say it's all planning day, I think probably close it, but. If it's only 2 days, it used to be 3 days, the planning day, the planning day was always the first day.
Here's the generic description. General sessions with informative keynote speakers and business sessions, awards, informative workshops, and mobile tours. An evening at the ballpark with the Salt Lake Bees.
Okay. Not much. They used to have a specific day set aside for planning topics. Okay, anything else from the commission reports?
I had something, I can't remember what it is.
You must have been hearing a lot. As a sense, later session, so I put that in be there.
Yes.
That's, and then that's the commission, we'll go ahead and take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. All these days, we were. One.
I was just wondering was, I see it when you eat water. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're gonna be yours. I want to do it how you need some places that we can share. And use both if you want to call, you can go along. See you later. Have a good one. Take care of those. Yeah.
And so it's one of my points with your. So it's been 8 hours on the other, and you have 2 hours already. And so. It didn't work this week. Honestly, all those was then, just to know this.
But
I went through like every one of
I did something like. Well. That's hard.
Well, it's been, that's
5 years ago now.
So this is.
You could tear down the house.
Each position
over.
All right.
They-
Yeah.
Well, here's what was.
What do you do?
Well, because I vote, I have to vote, sure, yes, I'm like. What about?
Talking arbitrary capricious over here, it's like, calm down, buddy. This is a high level,
Sorry.
Mike, Mike Nassau, I think the answer is feasibility study for. Right here, draw it on a map and say, here's my feasibility study. Then Mike said, I'm going to, because I've been in, other developments. Developers can decide not to do secondary, decide not to. And then what's residents are. Never proclaim they could have secondary.
Increases like that.
Yeah, it's reasonable to look at all that, just how it is. If you decide you're just going with everything above that. Maybe that's your feasibility study.
Yeah, maybe your feasibility study is to build everything. And especially.
Write that in 2 paragraphs. That's my study.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah. It's a good.
So I had to do some.
Yeah, let's stop. Side version on that. But anyway, so you could build this, I mean, it's a 6-foot road. On 3 acres of land, plus a 110-foot cul-de-sac. You know, so you got a lot.
And so when
All
that
those houses use the existing road, leave the existing ones, you have to demolish it, top it up, and do 6 lots. Well, that's not a development, I would think you guys are more profitable, just do the 6 lots.
Maybe that's where all your profit goes into that road.
So I would be shocked if we get more lots. Yeah. There was a guy that was even over it, it's private drives and 5 lots. This is last one we were at 10 lots.
then once we got.
And he just found that it's small. I mean, he was just only.
Basically, just lot size on the minimum.
Yeah, the only constraint he acknowledged was minimum lot size. Frontage. The fire around. Oh. Like, you're not gonna have fire. Yeah.
I don't need fire. I never call them. You're in question, your chance of having a hard attack in the next 5 years are pretty good. Someone's gonna call.
Yeah. Well,
I guess we. Great.
and it's live streaming too.